Yes, thank you so much, Mimi. Always happy to be here and to talk about all the amazing things happening in our country when it comes to digital economies.
All right, so Amor, the Southeast Asia Tech Week is behind us. It happened last week. I know you were very busy, you were participating in it, and ahead of us is the London Tech Week that's happening middle of June. What's the most exciting conversation happening now in your space today, and what role can the Philippines play there?
Actually, you are catching the tail end of the Southeast Asia Tech Week. So I represented the Philippines last week in the opening in Jakarta. Jakarta, of course, and Indonesia being the current chair of ASEAN. And tomorrow, we will be closing with the Philippine Fringe event. So the entire day tomorrow on the 21st is everything celebrating fintech and, of course, the startup ecosystem in the Philippines, insurtech, smart cities, cybersecurity, and making sure that our companies and also our citizens are protected. Now, all of these will lead up to what we're looking forward to mid-June. Actually, a lot of things are happening mid-June. There is, of course, the second London Tech Week happening in mid-June. There's also the inclusive fintech forum that bridges ASEAN to Africa. And then, of course, once again, there's the Point Zero Forum that is happening between Switzerland and also at the same time ASEAN. So many things that are putting ASEAN and the Philippines as a tech bridge gateway in focus.
Amor, it is an interesting time to be in tech. Aside from everything that's happening in what you talked about, we're also seeing, on the other hand, tech tantrums and tech turmoil, tech giants in Silicon Valley cutting workforce, starting to see normalization in workforce and demand and revenue. What's the mood like in the tech community, in your community, and do tech companies and startups seem like they are still gung-ho or bullish enough to be making fresh investments of the same magnitude as in the boom years, or has it become more difficult to attract and direct money to the Philippines?
See, interestingly enough, and this, and you're probably feeling it. Winter is thawing, especially in terms of investments, and the Philippines seems to be at the center of all of this attention. And, just last year, we experienced record highs when it comes to investments coming from all over the world. And for the first time, Philippine startups exceeded $1 billion in investments. And some private equity and venture capital funds have even put in close to $250 million. Can you imagine, right? Just one into one country, and that's the Philippines. I mean, a lot of this has to do with our very young ecosystem, the fact that we are mobile first. 70 million mobile phones, which is comparable to an Indonesia, right? Our bigger sister and brother in ASEAN. We are at parity in terms of mobile use. And, if we get everything together, we can imagine close to 7 to 12% of our GDP coming from startups contributing to our GDP overall. So that's just highly optimistic. And I know what you're talking about. There was FTX recently, and with SVB, and the general tone of the banking hiccup that's happening globally. We in the tech space, especially in ASEAN, it can only perhaps serve to embolden many of the investors to look into alternative markets that's not so alternative anymore. That is ASEAN. So it could be very good news for all of us here.
One thing that struck me from what you said, Philippine startups exceeded $1 billion in investments, I think 2 consecutive years now, right? I'm very curious, are these the usual suspects, the startups that have gotten the money, or are we seeing new startups being born?
See, and that's what we're trying to work on together with not just foreign governments who are partnering with the Philippines, but also with our very own Department of Trade and Industry. So special shout out to the incredible work that the Office of Secretary Fred Pascual and also USEC Rita Aldaba, specifically of the CIG, the Competitiveness and Innovation Group of the DTI, is doing. We need to ensure that there is more inclusion and also regionalization in terms of how we support the startup ecosystem. There should also be a balance between the support of startups in both the deep tech and also the more basic tech. Because as you can see, the breakout startups are not just those that are going into deep tech, but rather those that are solving very basic problems. We were with one of our good friends in the industry, Franco Varona, and he shared with us one of the breakout startups this year is actually a coffee to go company. Can you imagine? I mean, tale as old as time, right? Coffee with the application of basic technologies like e-commerce and also online delivery.
Amor, you talked about how tech is solving basic problems. I mean, right now when you think about the basic problems of the average Filipino, it's all about elevated inflation, rising unemployment, food security, and education poverty. These are just some of the gut issues we're all facing today. What are some of the innovative solutions that tech and you guys are offering?
See, just this week, let me just focus on what's happening, the incredible stuff that's happening this week. This week, we are looking at working with the biggest players in the logistics industry. Special shout out to the TDG group and also at the same time the Lena group, who are looking into taking up the logistics industry together with the major technologists in the country. Why? Because most of the challenges of food security and in agriculture, the reason why we have such high prices is a challenge of logistics. And if we can make, say, logistics more interoperable and intermodal, then that will go a long way, right? It's not just about fintech or access to payments. We're also solving the challenge of undercoverage and underprotection in terms of insurance. In the Philippines, for example, we are looking to bring in more solutions into the life and non-life ecosystem because we have better coverage in the banking sector, but in terms of the insurance sector, the numbers are far dismal. So it's all about, technology is really all about solving the biggest problems that confront us.
All right. And finally, and I think this is what's most exciting for many of our viewers, when is the next Philippine unicorn coming? How many are in the pipeline?
Okay, so fearless forecast, right? And many are actually friends in the industry. So aside from the incredible, lead that a GCash has actually paved the way for Philippine startups and in the ecosystem. Fearless forecast, we're looking at potentially 4, right? Wow. And I'm looking at Rosari, potentially, Kumu, Angkas, and Great Deals. So let's see who goes first. But more than those 4, what we're really hoping to do is bring in the best and the brightest in the world, investments and technology to help support the Philippines, and conversely, bring out the best and brightest in the Philippines to contribute to the rest of ASEAN and the rest of the world.
All right, Filipino world class indeed. Thank you so much, Amor, for joining us. We look forward to the tech weeks that are happening. See you soon.
See you soon. Take care. Mabuhay.
All right.